Hello everybody, welcome back to 10 Minute Reviews. I'm Jason.
I'm Amy.
And we're bringing you today's book. And today's book is a little bit different than some of the other ones that we've talked about. I'm not going to say a huge author, but he wrote quite a few books back in the 80s and 90s. And they all kind of follow the same sort of theme. But these are basically, this particular one is a thriller. Thriller, adventure kind of book, mostly a thriller and political thriller in a lot of ways. It's very similar to, like this author, I would put him on par with, say, David Morrell. And if you guys don't know who David Morrell is, well, he wrote First Blood, along with a whole bunch of other books. This book is called The Four-Phase Man by Richard Steinberg, and I will definitely be talking about other Richard Steinberg books. He is an incredibly entertaining author. Reading one of his books is like watching an action movie. It's like watching a John Wick movie. It's absolutely fantastic. Only also adding in a lot of some politics, but not like the divisive politics that we have nowadays, but more like House of Cards kind of stuff. And it's also a spy thriller. Now, the one thing about Richard Steinberg and most of his books is because they, while being thrillers and spy or political thrillers or mysteries, they're super entertaining. Definitely heavy action type thrillers. So the characters are definitely Rambo type, if not even beyond. All of his characters are basically the main characters in his books. They're pretty much the best in the world at the things they do, and to a level that's probably almost superhuman. And in fact, this particular book, the character does become borderline superhuman. So don't forget, by the way, to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and comment if you have any books that you would like us to talk about. So The Four-Phase Man deals with a character who now goes by the name Xenos, and he was originally a Cold War spy. Worked for, naturally, the CIA, and was a spy, but not like our spy, not like, let's say, a real spy. I mean, honestly, our spies are not James Bond. They're just not. But Xenos kind of was. They had this mythical program back in the CIA where very few of their spies would become what they called four-phase men. And that meant that they were spies that had mastered all four of the different specialties, I suppose you would put, of the spies. Now, most spies would only learn one, and not master it, but only learn one. And we're talking things like infiltration and tactics, and I honestly don't remember all four of them, because basically the character was superhuman. He basically was. I mean, his mind was able to calculate things like Captain America. I mean, or like Deathstroke, really. I mean, see a situation and every angle is calculated in the brain and like 30 moves ahead. Kind of, if this happens, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, and so if I do this, then this one, and like just this whole web all coming down into his brain, and then plus being basically unbeatable in combat, because he mastered that. But he has, for the most part, kind of gone, not rogue, but disappeared. Xenos has disappeared. Gets himself sucked back into things by trying to protect somebody, and even though he just really wants to be left alone. And he's in Europe, ends up in Europe, and he's a quasi-criminal. You kind of can't really live off the radar, live well, unless you're really a criminal. I mean, if you want to stay off the radar, you still got to make money. So he's basically a criminal working with the Sicilian mob, or a Sicilian crime family. Let's put it that way. Because again, this is kind of set in the 80s, possibly even the 70s, but I think it's set in the 80s. So you'd almost in a lot of ways.
Rico.
Well, in a lot of ways, when I was reading it, what it reminded me of is what you see on TV shows and such of the gypsy clans. How they have these traditions and these ceremonies they would go through. And he basically worked kind of for them, but they were also scared of him. But then they also weren't, because again, they knew they were tough as well. They knew one-on-one, he was definitely a threat to them. But as a group, they weren't scared of him. They didn't necessarily look at him as a friend, but he worked with them. They could count on him for what it's worth. So not necessarily a friend, not part of the family. So anyway, he ends up kind of getting sucked back into the world, the political world and the spy world, and ends up discovering that his opponent, the criminal opponent that he's going up against, is the only other surviving four-phase man, who had also gone rogue, but was using his talents to basically build his own criminal empire. And that's pretty much how the book kind of bounces back and forth, which is pretty fascinating, back to the Cold War, all the way back to their training, and how they were trained. They trained together, and the interests they had. One of them, before he got recruited by the CIA, was a painter. He was going to college to be a painter. He wanted to be, in fact, I think he was like making canvas. And I don't remember what Xenos' oh no, I'm sorry, not Sicilian. I think Xenos. I think it was a Greek crime family that he ends up working with, because they basically gave him this name. He was legendary under his own name, and then when he changed names, he became legendary again. And he ends up going to them for help, which leads to some pretty amusing stuff. But just overall, it's an incredibly action-packed thriller. I mean, that's what it is. If you like David Morrell, if you like Vince Flynn, if you like Brad Thor, if you read those guys, Richard Steinberg is definitely an author you're going to absolutely love. If you like the Jason Bourne movies, Richard Steinberg, and especially The Fourth Phase Man, is something that you absolutely have to read. Because I have to say, I've got most of the Bourne movies. I've read them all, except for the last couple of them by Musgrave. But I have to say, the movies are way different than the books. They follow some of the plot, but you can tell these books were written 60-70 years ago, because the style of writing is very different.
Pulpier?
Yeah, well, a lot slower, wordier, a lot drier. Whereas The Fourth Phase Man comes across a lot more like
modern.
You've got a lot of politics. You've got a lot of, I won't say mystery, but
intrigue.
Intrigue, yes. Perfect. That's the word I was looking for. Got a lot of intrigue in it, but then you've also got the action that Bourne has. I mean, I can tell you those fight scenes are not in the books. Not like that. So, Fourth Phase Man, Richard Steinberg. You guys got to check it out. Absolutely fantastic book. And otherwise, we want to thank everybody for watching. I hope this has given you guys a good book to check out if you're looking for something to read. And otherwise, please hit the like and subscribe button. Don't forget to comment. Give us some ideas of books you want us to read, or just chat about books. Comment, email us. What we do.
Okay.
And
what we doing?
And otherwise, thank you everybody for watching, and we will catch you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye now.